immorality, anti-Semitism, and replacement theology have rendered much of Christianity as unbiblical, mystic, and on the road to extinction. Welcome to the Heartland Connection, where we equip Christians to walk in the truth of God's Word, to support the land and people of Israel, and to stand boldly in their Abrahamic faith. I have personally learned so much about God and His Word from our Jewish friends here in Israel. I'm honored to have my good Orthodox Jewish friend joining me here on the program every week. Rabbi Yonadav Zar will be sharing great insights into the Torah from a Jewish perspective. So welcome, Rabbi Yonadav Zar.
Shalom.
So today's Torah portion is Parashat Miketz, which means at the end. And real quick, before we jump into the Torah portion for this week, I just want to say that it really helps us to get the word out. If you guys are able to like and subscribe, I know this stuff is kind of crazy and I don't even like it, but it really helps us to make this message go out to the world. If you can hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, do those kind of things, it really, really helps get this out to many, many more people. So if you can do that, it really helps us a lot. I also want to mention, you can probably hear the sound of the rain in the background. We're very, very blessed with getting some rain here in the land of Israel. It's a huge blessing to us, but if you may notice that sound in the background as we're recording today. And also, as you can see, we got a little bit of a new setup, so we're really excited. We're hoping to continue to make improvements as we go. All right, so diving into the Torah portion, last week we had several dreams that we talked about. Joseph has dreams. He goes and shares them with his brothers. They get upset at him. We talked about that last week, and then at the end of last week's Torah portion, we have the butler and the baker having dreams, and Joseph interprets those. And then this week's Torah portion, we have Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, who has a dream, and Joseph interprets them. And all of these dreams are like super, super significant. They have a lot of meaning to them. They were very significant in those people's lives. And so my question for Rabbi Yonadav today is, are dreams important for us, and how should we react to our dreams today?
Okay. The dreams from the portions of Yosef and his brothers are surely, obviously, unique dreams, because they were dreams that predict the future. We don't have such dreams, every one of us. It's like a little prophecy. So we can't take from these dreams, those dreams, and say about our dreams. But we can talk about the way that we have to deal with the reality, with the dreams, with the signs we can derive from our life. Because they took the dreams and tried to interpret them to their lives. So surely Yosef had the skill to interpret the dreams. And he said it's from God. But maybe the importance to our life is the way that he deal with the thoughts that he accept from the dreams. How he deal with the reality when he understood the dreams. Let's take an example. Yosef dreamed that he has to reign. So he took it like mission to his life. We will talk about it later, but let's talk about another dreams. The dream of the butler. He understood that Paro will bring the butler back to be his servant. So he asked him to remind to Paro about himself, that he is slave that brought from the land of the Hebrews, and he did nothing, and please help me get out. So it's not only the ability to interpret the dreams, but also the ability to think what he has to do with the knowledge. And now it's very interesting because our portion began, Vayhi Miketz Shnatayim Yamim, after the end of 2 years. And the Midrash said that it was punishment. Yosef had to stay another 2 years in the prison because he asked the butler to help him. But why? Shouldn't we try to make effort to improve our situation? No, we had to. That's good to try and improve your situation, your position. So we have to explain it. Let's think about what he decided to do. He asked the butler to help him. Who put him in the jail? The Sarat Tabachim.
Yeah, the chief of the captain of the guard.
Yes, the captain of the guard, but he called Sarat Tabachim because his mission was to kill one who has who sentenced to death. So the one who was in charge of the butler in the days he was in prison, and maybe should kill him in another a time, decided to put Yosef in jail, and now the butler tried to take him out against the Sarat Tabachim. That's very. It's supposed to be very frightened to the butler, and for whom? For a slave? That's not make sense. So Yosef has to make effort to improve his situation, but in common sense, with mind, not something like it's like to try make irrational miracle. No, you have to make very rational effort. And and Yosef has to be to make such effort in unique because that's his way. So how can you ask the butler? So stay in jail another 2 years. And in our portion, the dreams of Paro, of course, he accept the dreams and the interpretation of the dreams as base knowledge to improve the reality. Okay, this is the situation. You accept dream. This is the interpretation of the dream. Okay, now you have to take the food from these years to save it to another years, to the years of the starve. This is the important part of Yosef, to take the knowledge and use him to improve, to stand to the future better. So, to our life, we have to accept the knowledge. We have to think and criticize and find a way to deal with in better way, to make the future better. If we have the ability of prophecy, that's great. But if we have no this ability, so we have to use the knowledge that we have.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I think dreams are so, I don't know, like I think for me a lot of times I just think, oh, it's a dream. It doesn't really matter. It's just because I was thinking about something, or just because it was, my brain is stimulated and it's just thinking of crazy things. But it's a really interesting thing, because I was looking it up. The average person actually spends 25 years of their life sleeping and 6 years dreaming. Is for the average person. Some people do more, some people do less, but an average of 6 years of your life are spent dreaming. And it seems like from the Bible, it definitely can be a way for God to speak to you. And I think, if I'm understanding you correctly, Rabbi Yonadav, you're saying that when we have dreams, when we apply them practically, we should use them to help encourage us to do what we know is right, to improve our situation, to grow and be better people, and to do good things. And that's the main thing. When we interpret a dream, we should interpret it positively in order to help us. And then, it might not necessarily be a prophecy or something, but it will just help us, encourage us to keep on living a godly life and the way that God that wants us to in our lives today. So, but I think dreams are so interesting, because, we spend quite a bit of time doing it in our life, but they seem so disconnected, and I don't know, maybe even a little mystic or something. Like they're so interesting. But yeah, I think that's great. Thank you for sharing about dreams and how we can, and how we should apply those to our lives and what we should do with those, because most everybody has them. So our next question here is kind of an interesting question. As I was reading through the Torah portion, I realized that when Joseph's brothers came into Egypt, it says that they didn't recognize him. And so I guess maybe it could be because he was just a lot older, but still, you would think if they're the brothers who had spent, however 17 years or whatever with him, that they would have been able to recognize him. And so it seems like maybe it's because he was dressed like Egyptian. He was, at this really high level position now, and that possibly he dressed like an Egyptian. So that brought up the question, it seems like maybe there's some level of assimilation, that on some level Joseph actually became kind of like the Egyptians in his dress, and I don't know what other ways, if he did, but I know that for the Jewish people, assimilation has been one of the greatest dangers to the Jewish people throughout the centuries. And so I wanted to hear from you your thoughts, Rabbi Yonadav, on what was Joseph doing, and was it okay? And what are some of the boundaries that the Jewish people that you have set so that you don't assimilate into pagan cultures?
Okay. About the clothes, it's written that Paro gave him bigdei shesh, So obviously it was different clothes and not the clothes he had from his father. And the Midrash says that they did not recognize him because he left them without beard, and now he has beard. Beard. Yes?
I'm not sure what is it.
Beard? Zakan.
A beard. Yes.
Beard.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. But in opposite, the Midrash says that the butler said, "Vesham itanu nar ivri." There was with us Hebrew youth.
Uh-huh.
So he recognized him as Hebrew. The Midrash says he was loyal to his origin. They all knew that he is Hebrew.
Yeah.
So I don't think it about the loyalty of Yosef to his origin. But of course, we have to talk about the danger of assimilation. But maybe not the danger, but the vision, the destiny, the goal of the Jewish people to fix the world, to reveal the reign of God to the world. If we will assimilate, we can't fulfill our mission, our goal. So it's very important to keep our identity. And of course, if someone wants to join, the door is open. Or even if someone wants to join to the mission without joining the Jewish people, but to be ger toshav, to be a friend, to be loyal to the Jewish faith, that's all right too. But we have to keep the identity, the Jewish identity, and we have rules, laws, how to keep this identity. So sometimes it's very unpleasant. Like sometimes I work with the Arab workers in the buildings. So they have twice a day times of drinking coffee. And they suggest me also to drink with them. And I told them I should not drink coffee with you. I'm your friend. I like to walk with you, but I can't drink with you. I can't eat with you because I have to keep the right borders. It's to keep borders with the closure, to be close, but to keep borders. Close, to be together, to be
close together.
Yes, but to keep borders. So we can be friends, we can learn, we can study, we can teach, we can even participate, cooperate in good projects, but we have to keep. And the danger, the most bad situation is is a combine of two problems: the marriage together and the wrong faith, to accept the wrong faith. So we have to keep ourselves from those two parts, and we made borders. Like the Torah says, be careful not to marry, not to come to their parties. It's written in the Torah. And maybe there are another rules that are easier with one who decided to be ger toshav, but still we need borders. So we can see the result of those laws from our history. One who kept the laws stayed with us and improve the reality, bring the world to his salvation, talk to the nations. One who did not keep these rules lost to the Jewish people. He thought that he will be closer to the nations when he throw the borders. But the history says that he just lost. And the one who talk and relate to the nations is the one who kept the laws.
Oh, very interesting. And just so everybody listening understands too, the ger toshav, ger means like a foreigner, a non-Jewish person, and toshav means somebody who's like settled. And so the ger toshav is something that's in the Bible as I think most translations say, the sojourner, somebody who's come, a non-Jewish person who lives in the land of Israel, and they agree to certain principles and basically submit to the Israeli Jewish leadership. Would you add any more to that, Rabbi Yonadav?
Maybe the core of his behavior is the 7 Noahide laws, but I think that he has to be influenced and to try to shape his customs in the light of the Torah, of the 7 Noahide laws, to interpret them and to detail them to system of laws that he can worship God according to the Torah. Not to accept all the laws as Jews, but to try to find his way to interpret and to detail the 7 Noahide laws, and even to adopt another laws to his life, to his community, that he think that will improve his worshiping and bring him to better life, to more moral life, to worship God.
It's
kind of long way. It's a journey.
And it's interesting talking about that in conjunction with the assimilation dangers and those kind of things. It seems like one of the greatest ways to not assimilate, obviously, is to have very strong biblical precepts and morals. If you're, following biblical modesty and even eating kosher, I know for the Jewish people, that limits you on who you can eat with or who you can be around and these kind of things. And so just following the biblical principles in some ways is really kind of the guard that God put in place so that you're not influenced by pagan people or pagan practices or those kind of things. If you're keeping the Torah, then that is obviously what's keeping you and defining you and maintaining your identity. So if you can maintain those things, and I think for us as Christians, it's really important for us to realize that we need to really make sure that we have a solid moral values and even traditions that we do in order to maintain our identity and be strong in those, and not to say, oh, well, anything is okay. I think that's a big reason why we're in such the mess that we are in Christianity today, because if everything's all right and there's no really defined moral values or these kind of things, then we easily slide right into pagan culture. So I think it's definitely something that we can learn from you guys, from the Jewish people, that it's important to have biblical, like you said, that biblical way that you're looking to and adopting and learning and growing in. I think it's very important.
Yes, but I want to say something more gentle. Mm-hmm. Because it's not only pagans. Mm-hmm. You as Christians has your mission according to the Torah. Mm-hmm. You have inside in your camp improve your faith. You have to make border between you and the pagans, mm-hmm. but also you have to keep the borders between you and Jews, because you have different role mm-hmm. than the pagans or than the Jews. Mm-hmm. It's not only, it's very comfortable to say we all have to keep the borders between and the pagans. Okay, but also we have to remember that we have border between us too. Mm-hmm. And we have to understand that it's not border of hatery. Mm-hmm. It's border of different role. Mm-hmm. And if we assimilate, if we destroy our borders, we can't fulfill our roles. We can't be loyal to our roles, our mission, our vision. So we have to keep the borders, and as we keep our borders, we can cooperate better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we talked about that maybe last week or a couple podcasts ago about the importance of different roles. We have that within families, for a man and a woman, for a grandfather and a grandson. Like there's all kinds of different levels and roles and responsibilities. And if we blur those, if they're not clear, then we run into all kinds of trouble and we're not able to actually function with strength. And so I think that's very good. And I think very biblically correct that we as Christian people have a different role than the Jewish people. And we see right now the Jewish people coming back to the land of Israel and claiming the land, settling the land. That is a huge role that you guys have to come in here and do that. And that's one of the greatest things that excites me, is seeing you guys come back and settle the land and studying and keeping the Torah and these things. And I see it, a big part of my role is just encouraging you in that, saying, yes, that's great. You guys, do that. And whatever I can do to help and to encourage all the people from the nations to come in and help and do that, I think is a really, really big and exciting thing that we're seeing happening today. So we don't have a whole lot more time left. We could probably talk about that for a lot longer, but we have one last question here. And that is, in this situation, the Torah portion, we see Joseph seeing his brothers come back or come to Egypt in order to get food. And immediately Joseph says, all right, I need to test them and see if they are like they used to be, or there's some kind of testing going on here. And so my question is, shouldn't Joseph have just forgiven them? It seems like maybe the right thing to do would just be forgive them and let God test them and do whatever he wants to do? Why did Joseph take it on as his responsibility to test his brothers and say, oh, are they righteous? And it was like up to him to decide if they were righteous now or not. Shouldn't he have just forgiven them and let God test and change them?
Okay, the word responsibility is the most important word in your question.
Okay.
Like we talked about the dreams. Yosef had dreams, so now his dreams were like prophecy. So now he knows what will be. He knows the future, but it's not says that, okay, I know the future, I can go sleep and the future will come. No. He took the dreams like mission. It's prophecy, and it's prophecy that he has to fulfill. It's like you guys. You read in the Bible, ועמדו זרים וראו צאנכם, ובני נכר עיקריכם וקורמיכם. The foreigners will be your
The plowman.
Yes, and okay. So you don't say, okay, the prophet says that, so it will be, we can go sleep and it will fulfill, right?
Right.
You say, no, this is prophecy, we have to fulfill it. Like that Yosef. He said, I had a dream. I know this dream is right, is true. I have to fulfill it. Not to say, I will forgive and God will do his mission. No, it's my mission. I have to fulfill it. I have to show my brothers that they must accept my... Okay, he thought my reign, but it wasn't his reign. To accept his importance, his place, his position in reality. He knows how to deal with reality. He can fulfill the values, the ideals of God in reality. And this ability is the most important ability in the world. They has to understand it and to honor him for his ability, to try to help him, to try to guide him. So they must accept his as an important part of the people. And he must show them, he must fulfill it. So this is a responsibility. Even if I accept dream, real dream, and I know what God wants and what will be, even I know the future. It's not to sit and stay. It's to take responsibility and to make it happen.
Wow. Yeah, I think that's a very important lesson for us, especially as Christians. We tend to spiritualize everything, and it needs to be with action, with boots on the ground action. So I think that's a really, really good point. All right, so we have run out of time. Thank you so much, Rabbi Yonadav, for teaching us today. We really appreciate all of your insights into this week's Torah portion. Thank you for sharing. And thank all of you guys for listening. We really appreciate you guys jumping on and listening to these. And please, if you've learned something from today's program, please share and like, subscribe, send us feedback, zach@hayovel.com. And thank you guys so much for joining us today. May the Lord bless you as you continue embracing the everlasting truths of God's holy word. Shabbat Shalom from the beautiful, exceedingly good land of Israel.